Still ain't got my podcast equipment set up yet. Um, so I'll be doing a couple little things, from my little spot. I might even do them from the house. I don't know. I don't know. Be trying to catch up on a lot of different things around the house and whatnot. So I wanted to kind of do a digital journal today about um, financial institutions. Now, some people they get afraid of financial institutions because they're thinking stock or market or anything can change, and it could be volatile. Well, everything's volatile by that nature if you want to look at it that way. I'll say that because I worked doing some API support over the last couple of years, and it seems like I have more success under the insurance and the financial banner than dealing with software as a service and MSPs as just standalone software. And I found, it seems to me, I found more success doing that when I was doing a lot of those migrations and deployments, and when I was doing just regular support, even when I was doing some of the Citrix stuff. I'm gonna tell you about how a lot of the financial places work. It takes forever to get access and permissions for a lot of different things. There's a lot of different background checks and things of that nature. But once you get in there, it's kind of like rotisserie. It's kind of like rotisserie. You come in, you do what you need to do, and you move along. It kind of reminds you of like a state or a federal position. They have a stringent amount of different things. They're not trying a lot of new different applications and stuff. You have applications that is supported in stock market or the finance market or the banking market or whatever. They may augment them every now and then. They're not changing them things every 5 minutes because there's a lot of regulations. So you're not slid into a lot of BS just last minute all the time. Everything has to be done by regulation. So you'll see, I'll say it'll be kind of rigid, but you'll kind of wonder sometimes why a lot of people will just kind of be just walking around just talking. They'll be walking around just talking, and sometimes it ends up in endless babble. But the reason for that is because you might be waiting, you might be trying to do something, but you might have to wait forever just to do it. Now, for people that just want to act immediately, you may not want, if you don't like that kind of industry. It's fast paced, but you may not be able to, it might be something blocking you from doing what you need to do. But nobody could hold that against you because you can't do it. Because there's, like I say, there's rigid and there's strict policies. You can't just change anything and then just say, well, no, that has to go through all these different boards and stuff like that. And a guy was telling me one day, like, he liked the meeting thing. Dude was breaking it down. He's like, hey man, take a look at this. He said, I could do this all day because you're getting your bread. You're not trying to be Daredevil. You're not trying to be a superhero. You there to get a bag. That's it. Nothing less, nothing more. That's what you're there for. So, like I said, with me, I done kind of did what I need to do. I might have a few more things, and I'm just, like I say, I'm not gonna jump the horse. I'm not gonna try to be the superhero or nothing like that. In a lot of those environments, trying to be the superhero, that's not look good. You do what you need to do, and you keep it moving. And to me, that's a low stress environment. But I've noticed in some environments, you get the over volunteering, and you just want to be, you want to be a meteor man or something. Man, look, you gonna run yourself in some trouble. Go ahead and do what you need to do, and then once you do that, then you could get, one thing you could do with those environments is you can meet certain people, because a lot of times it is kind of a people environment where you'll see a lot of people talking. You see people in a lot of agile environments, scrum meetings and stuff like that. And so some people that you're cool with, and whatever allies you may have, if you have them. I don't expect you to have them anywhere, but if you do, true allies, you can they can get you to introduce you to, if you want to be in a certain department. You see what I'm saying? So you can do that too. But like I say, the API environments, the help desk environment, like I mentioned, Travelers Insurance is help. That's you're not trying to stay there. That's not somewhere where you want to stay and stay and stay and stay and stay. Unless you're just totally okay with just the rotisserie. It's worse than the rotisserie. It's robot now. You're just robot. But if you're okay with the robot, and if you get your paper, if it's a high paying position, but you're not going to advance your skill set too much. With those financial environments, what you probably want to do is, if you're on the help desk, you want to start leaning into maybe like the business system analyst positions. PMs, those are super stressful, but you want to lean into like the app support, maybe dev support if you're in the development. You get into that. That way you could do what you do, work hybrid, work remote. A lot of times I see a lot of those people, they just go off half the time, they'll just be walking around, but they get their work done and they do what they do, and then they kind of just make their own destiny, so nobody's on your back all the time, so those are the best environments to be on. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna keep it real short. I'm trying to think of anything else until I get my machine back up, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just packed away until I get my machine back up how I want it. And I'm trying to think. I might throw it in the basement. Y'all might see me in the dark basement doing basement story times. I might do that. I don't know if I feel like bringing all that equipment out and stuff like that until I leave wherever I'm at. But either way, there will be some new story times coming. There will be some new story times coming, and they actually, this might actually be a good time for me to do the tour, the Minneapolis, St. Paul, the Twin Cities story times of how I was kind of moving and shaking and stuff like that. But some of the areas that I'm going to be going in is I'm not going to say they're not camera friendly, but I kind of like to be on my P's and Q's. So if I am getting some footage, I'm not just going to be standing around walking all around and stuff like that, unless I got somebody with me. Because I don't think nobody's going to try to run up behind me or whatever, but when I'm in the city, that's how I move. I don't put nothing past nobody, because like I say, these areas are, Minneapolis, St. Paul, we don't have a vibe where it ain't like Chicago or a place like St. Louis, or specifically Chicago, where it's this person on this block and everybody has known everybody for forever. It ain't that type of, people move around a lot. It gets gentrified. There's no, that's why this Twin Cities is like a no man's land. It's anything that goes, dog eat dog, you're on your own. It's a no man's land, because you might still go back to your old neighborhoods and still see some people, but generally you're not just gonna walk down the block and all your neighbors know who you are. It ain't like that. At one point in time it might have been like that, but it's definitely not like that now. It is pretty much a dog eat dog, world star, look at me, give me all the attention I need, social media world. This is a world that, like I said, when I was growing up, and it wasn't that long ago, this is a world 10, I'll give it 10. I'm not even gonna give it 15. This is a 10 plus year world that we didn't know. This is a completely different world. So I'm gonna go ahead and upload this in a second. One thing I will say is, depending on where it is, depending on what position it may be, I talk about what they call high visibility. If you're not a person that's okay with high visibility, like for me, when I'm kind of, like for example, eating lunch at your desk. You might want to take it somewhere because folks are always coming up to you. I'm a stickler when it comes to me eating, and see when people start coming up to you talking and stuff like that. When you're talking, somebody might have a sloppy mouth, and you get turned off. You don't even want to eat no more because folks are all close to you, and that's something I don't like doing to people. If you're eating, and especially if I don't know you like that, if you're eating, folks need to give people space. Give people about 5 to 6 feet plus or something like that. You don't need to be all up on people. You don't need to be anywhere close to nobody eating. Now some people don't understand that. They really don't get that. But you're having a meal. But here's the rule of thumb. The rule of thumb is, well, you at your desk, so I could come up to you. And they see that you're eating. You see what I'm saying? But that's the rule of thumb. They're like, okay, well, you just open. It might be your lunch, and you kind of like, man, move around. They don't work like how we do. That's not a part of their culture. It's not. I'm just telling you. It's not a part of their culture. They figure, well, they just walk up and it's kind of like, I don't know, I'm different. If I see somebody eating, and you could kind of tell where, like, all right, are you done talking? Like, you know what I'm saying? You could kind of tell when somebody's trying to eat and tend to their business. You got a mouthful of food and they steady talking to you and asking questions and doing all that shit. It's irritating. That's not us. We don't do that. Typically, we don't. You know, unless you know the person or whatever like that. But generally, man, like, you know, I'm telling y'all, high visibility positions, there's not a lot of room for, like, when you say, give me space or whatever the case may be. So, take that as y'all will. But a lot of financial places now, banks, insurance companies, they're into the hybrid thing because they know people don't want to come back into the office. So they're still struggling with that. But, you know, some people, they're okay. They're like, all right, well, you know, but the office is different than what it was before to me. Coming into the office is different before. Maybe because it's a different position, but it's a little bit different. You still have little nuances and stuff like that, but I'll break that down later. And I think one of these days I'm gonna do a podcast for you. But I'm having fun with these story times, so I'm gonna upload this for y'all. Y'all take care.